Is this thing working? Yeah, looks alright. There's that. That's pretty good. Alright. Hello. There's nobody there. My name's Aaron Bedard.
Brian
McKenna. And I'm a lead plaintiff with the Equitas Society court case involving 6 Afghan vets suing the federal government over the issues with the new Veterans Charter.
I'm part of the eye candy there, pretty much just making it look better.
He's like the 5th Beatle in a sense. He has come into the game a few years later and has been a key player with dealing with the government and with making sure that we're understanding what's going on out in the veteran community, what's working and what's not with the Charter and with dealings with Veteran Affairs Canada. Today on the show we're going to have our lead lawyer Don Sorochan at, what time is it now, 4 o'clock, so 4:30. He'll be on for about a half hour. We've gone on a closed group with 700 veterans and gotten a sense of 10 key questions that veterans wanted to be able to ask Don. And we're going to do that shortly. What do you want to talk about?
Well, we got our first. Oh, hey, Stu. Huff's there. Duncan's there. Right on. So, a couple things. We want to bounce around the community to see what you guys think. I got this thing, more of an idea. I call it the Hire 2 Corporals Challenge. And what I'm thinking about is, you know, you keep hearing back east that, oh, hey, we got another veteran working for VAC. Oh, there's another one. Oh, we hired a couple. And every time you look, they've hired a bunch of colonels and ex-generals to do colonelly and generally things. And that's great, because we do need those folks. I'd like to see them hire 2 corporals. I'd like to see them get a warrant officer or captain in there, some cranky old MWO who will actually tell them how it is.
The people that get seconded and...
Yes, the people that were
positions with government.
In positions that got them upset, in positions that got them hurt, those are the people that need to be hired in there. Not folks that necessarily had to toe the party line while they were in the other department, because then they're just going to toe the party line in there. So I call it the Hire 2 Corporals Challenge. I would love to see the department turn around and say to us, hey, we're taking advice right across the board. We got these guys from the junior ranks that are telling us how they've seen it, what they've been up against. And so yeah, I like to call that Hire 2 Corporals Challenge. I'd like to see that happen. Do I have a time frame? No. I'm going to make one up on the spot. I'm going to give Aaron, what do you think, Aaron?
Well, what?
Well, how quickly do you think it's feasible to hire people into the government?
Oh, they could just keep.
Great idea, Aaron.
Starter.
Aaron just said, as you clearly heard, that he said he wants to see them in there by Thanksgiving. That's what I heard him say. And so yeah, hire 2 corporals by Thanksgiving.
Work on that. We've been trying to recommend that they get some people involved with the dialogue in the minister's office, and not quite there.
No, it's not there. But
we're trying to help.
As we move forward in the program, you know, I was always thinking, from the first one I was a part of, the second one I wasn't able to be here, that some product placement would be fantastic. And at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Billy Bob's Beef Jerky from Chilliwack. If you don't know about Billy Bob's, you're just not Canadian enough, and this will help you. See, it's even red and white, like the flag. Billy Bob's Jerky will come through for you. It will remind you of what you ate on your lips today, and then you might feel a reminder about it tomorrow. And this is a good thing. I've had some already, and that's what's made me invigorated for the show. That's Billy awesome. Bob's.
Hey. Does anyone have a question for us? We're going to try and go back and forth here, and maybe we can cover a thing or two right now. For people that don't know, we're involved with a committee or two with the Minister of Veteran Affairs Office and the Veteran Affairs Canada. You want to tell them about that? Yeah,
so we've been out in Ottawa a couple times and doing some work on the stakeholders meeting. It's one of those things where, you know, if you want to be heard, well, you got to go to where the conversation's happening. And at least while there's some discrepancy on that, that's kind of the way we're approaching it. We're aware, you know, the government's talked to the Nazis, they talked to the Taliban, they're probably talking to ISIS, so we can probably talk to them. And even though we have great disagreements on certain things, we're taking the approach of open lines of communication is the way to go. And when we're there, there's also smaller advisory groups. So you get one meeting where you've got, call it 80 people able to speak to the department, but then you've got more finite tasks to smaller groups, some of them about 10, 15 people. Mm-hmm. And so we're involved in one right now, the mental health committee. It just, or the mental health advisory group, I should say. It sat for the first time when we were back there in May, and they are planning to meet again. It's got some interesting things that it's going to be tackling, but nonetheless, as those things come up, we'll try bring them forward to you guys. But that's basically what's happening. So there's
Is there anything we could tell them right now as far as an update?
Yeah, we could. So there's 6 committees, though.
They all know that.
Yeah, just
well,
making
the general
sure.
public, the average Canadian might not know that. But
So yeah, I mean, I can't rattle them all off, but there's families, there's commemoration, and the ones we're working on.
Delivery, policy.
And what else we got?
Family, you said?
Yeah, I think I covered
And
that.
mental health and commemoration.
Yeah. So there's a couple of hot topics out there. And then further to that, we're going to be doing some work specifically on articulating exactly what the facility was that you might have heard about in the election campaign. We had a hand in getting that in the election campaign, and now we want to have a hand in stick handling that forward. And so we actually want to be able to propose to government, here's what we meant, here's the in-depth plan. So that's what we're working on in the next short while here, actually.
Within the mandate letter that the government and their political platform for veterans, they said they'd make a commitment to spend $20 million on an inpatient facility for veterans dealing with PTSD. And that came from us, and we worked hard to get that into their campaign. And so now we want to make sure that the doctors that encouraged or inspired the idea in the first place, after going through a couple of their programs, wanted to, have a full-time inpatient facility program that can do more than a small funded program that was 5-10 days long. We're looking at 20 to 30 days for someone at the early phases of dealing with PTSD, not months, years down the road. Catching them earliest as possible to give them a plan on how to deal with PTSD, how to function, and then have that plan after coming out of the inpatient facility to bring to 1-hour sessions with a mental health professional that, whether it's with D&D or when they get released and end up someone on civvy side, have in their hand, wherever they go, whoever they're going to have treating them, a plan, a 5 to 10 year plan.
See, I look at it this way. There's some jobs out there in the Canadian Forces that by the time you're trained, it was hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of putting that person into that role. Take a pilot, for example. Just on gas, you're deep into the 6-7 figures by the time you get that guy fully functioning. And so what we're looking at is not just what's out there, but what order are we putting you up against the care that's out there. And we happen to feel that we might actually be able to salvage some careers, not just mental health.
Exactly, catch them early.
Actually keep people still in uniform.
Before they break.
And the Army, the Air Force and Navy still own them and can still use them in an employable manner. And we think that ought to be the goal. Now, it may be the goal of other folks, but we think changing the order of care can be as effective as changing the care. So what do I mean by that? So the minute you put up your hand and say, hey, I got a problem, we want you to go for the standard assessments that have to be done. And pretty much right after that, we want you in a veteran-centric, I'll say it twice, just like mission, right? Say it twice. A veteran-centric in-care care program. And from there, because we deal with each other best, and when there's doctors involved, but we have each other to authenticate the program that we're going through, it works better. If I stick a vet after you've had a career of lying to doctors, which we all kind of do, and then we stick you on his couch beside the weird plant and the weird paintings and say, okay, well, talk to this guy and let's figure out your life, we feel we've got less chance of a successful outcome. So what I want is I want us to identify the dude. Okay, guy's got a problem. Off to the doc, and then 10 days right away, as opposed to waiting till we've kicked him out and the addictions problem kicked in and the divorce is on, and then we send you to treatment. No. I want to reverse that.
We want to catch them before the train wreck or the derailing of their life. And bottom line is, having to leave the forces because of PTSD, and you've tried to hold on as long as you could, and then you break, you fall apart, and go through this whole process. The administrative burden is endless. It's extremely expensive to treat us. Why not try and prevent it?
Because that's what all the leaders say. Like, you get the senior NCOs and the officers, the good ones, and there's tons of good ones. They come up to me all the time, like, what do I do to help him now? And I think we've succeeded in getting the leaders in the forces. I know we've succeeded because I've seen it work. We've got the leaders in the forces saying, okay, let's help the guy. But often they don't know what the next couple sentences are. So what do we do now that we want to help him and we're not ostracizing him? High fives, ass slapping all around. Wonderful. Now what? And that's where I think people are falling on their face a little bit here. So that's kind of what we want to see change. Now, what I know, I'll walk you through what happened to me. My first experience with mental health in the Canadian Forces was simply when I wanted to get in the Canadian Forces. You see a doctor, you tell them your life's wonderful, they let you in. Then you want to go on tour. You see a doctor for the DAG, we call it, the Departure Assistance Group. In other words, paperwork to deploy. And you're certainly not going to tell him there's problems at home because you want to go on tour. When you come back, you're probably not going to tell that doctor there's a problem because you want to go again. So there's this series of, I wouldn't say lying, let's call it misplacing the truth at times, where the soldiers aren't going to pour out their heart to the doctors, but it builds a bad track record. And then down the road where you actually need help, you're used to telling them a bit of a fib, and they're used to telling you one too, right? And we talked about this 2 sessions ago, where they're used to saying, oh, well, we're here for you, but really they're gauging your risk to the department. They're trying to see, can you touch this car without crashing it into people? Can you handle that weapon? Can we trust the other soldiers around you? So they're risking, or I should say they're risk gauging you to the department. And that creates a really bad doctor-patient relationship. And what we found was successful in combating that was a program that had doctors and vets delivering the program to the patients.
Which is?
The one I was on that was successful was the Veterans Transition Network.
And I was on that program too, 2011.
And it was actually our brothers that went on tour back in the Croatia days that were the original guys that were on program number 1. And it's morphed and improved since then. And they did it in a time when we didn't talk about these things. So we're better at it now, but what we feel is changing that order is going to help. That's what I think.
Catching them earlier.
So, hands up, thumbs up. Who here has heard about the situation with the, let's call him the Norwegian vet, right? This is the dude back east. Now, I'm not going to proclaim to know half of the details on this guy's scenario. I'll tell you this much, though, it's pissing me off.
The interview?
Yeah, well, the interview's one thing.
You talk about that interview?
Dude, that was an 8-minute interview, and I could have told you every word that came out of it before they said it.
He's only allowed to say 3 things.
I know.
Or 4.
I know.
The poor guy.
The poor leash on him, it's unfortunate. But I mentioned this to you guys 2 weeks ago. I said culture change, and we keep getting told the culture's changing. Well, I'm telling you right now that whoever signed any document that said this Norwegian vet doesn't get to go into a care facility, that person needs a culture change. Maybe they need a ruck march. Maybe they need a BFT and a bunch of ice water poured on their head. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. But I reject the idea that the department has done a culture change when we're looking at a dude in his 90s that clearly needs the facility. There's over 10, I believe it was 13, empty beds in the facility, and yet the pencil pusher attitude is still no, because if we give it to him, we have to give it to the rest. That's not culture change, troops. It hasn't happened. Needs to happen. And
they want beds for veterans to go away. Well, the hospitals, more specifically, it's at the end phase here, end game of that whole thing that's been going on for 30, 40 years.
Yep.
And they just need to be firm about it. They don't want anybody, any wriggle room or any precedent to go against the end of veteran hospitals.
And in the end, you'll probably see people out of goodwill trying to help this guy if it hasn't happened already. And goodwill is great. But sometimes, you know what? The people who are mandated to look after this dude need to be forced to look after him. And
that's often what happens is somebody will step in, the Legion might step in, who knows? And then they go, they're done, story's done, let's move on. And
that's just
and then they didn't do their job. And it's great that someone stepped in, but yeah.
If the way we train people is true and the stuff we tell them during training is true, then this dude is a brother of the guys that fought in that conflict. He's as much a brother as a Brit, as a Pole, as an American that landed in Italy on Normandy. They're all the same, right? And so I'm telling you, the culture change hasn't come through yet. That's my 5 cents.
Carol Bronson said, makes me wonder what's going to happen to us in the future. So 30, 20, well, how far is that away from us? 30, 40 years? 50 years?
Yeah, it's funny because what you do,
a different world.
What you do to us today as vets is your recruiting plan or your recruiting barriers 5 years from now. Because I know I used to work in recruiting, and one of the biggest things we had to deal with was the parents. Sometimes the parents wanted the kid to join more than he did. That was always a fun one to handle. But then the reverse was true. Sometimes the kid wants in and the parents are like, whoa, I don't know. Well, this is happening today. I'm telling you. There are kids who want to join the forces today, and their parents are coming forward and saying, hold on a second here. I'm hearing that my kid won't be looked after when he's hurt. And so the ramifications of being a little too meticulous while employing your policies in Charlottetown is going to hurt you down the road when you're trying to recruit the next wave of guys. I'm telling you, it's happening already. And so that's one thing. Yeah. How
the quality? Did you see quality from 2000 to 2015? Did anyone see quality go down or attitude? Like people are like, nah, I don't really want to do the job today. I saw it 2008, and it was different than when I was starting 2002. I was only in for a snapshot, split second in the forces, but I saw a difference.
I guess what I'm saying is if another conflict or a large one comes and rears its ugly head down the road, in the time where we're building up and training for that, how much second guessing, other than it's a risky job, are we going to have from the families of the new recruits out there? And that could potentially be a problem. And that needs to be injected into the adjudication system at VAC. You need to realize every time you say no, every time you lowball, every time you offer a guy 5% that should have got 50, you're impacting that in a big way. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Going for the dive. Matt Edwards, recruitment and retention. Yeah, okay, I didn't touch on the retention piece, although I'm giving you an up-close view of the trim job I did on the beard. He was giving me grief. He was saying you got to take the jihadi look down a little bit.
No, it was Jebediah, like an Amish sort of, like, are you raising a barn this weekend?
Aaron, you were picking on me.
I'm sorry.
And it didn't hurt. It hurt a little bit. But other than that, I'm back. Gave it a little trim.
Oh, it looks good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just bugging you.
No, I got to grow it up some more.
He's going to go like this. I'll be like a fucking grapefruit sack.
Hey, swearing. We're working on this. You swear.
No swearing. Apparently, we have to keep it clean now because we're on public domain.
Well, not none. None's weird, right?
Yeah, we have to have a little bit of swearing because there's no censors. We're not dealing with advertising and.
Well, I haven't sworn yet. You've done it twice. Cock balls. There now we're level because you swore twice earlier. All right, what do we got?
So you have a
hey man,
question?
What's going on?
Jay Fournier just put something up there. What does that say?
All right. All the government did in the budget was dangle a carrot. Yeah, to some degree. It kind of feels like that, that's for sure. It's really hard because here we are, 7-8 months into a 4-year mandate, and one side of me wants to say, well, let's give them time to do it. And the other side of me wants to say, you've been consulting for decades, you have the answers, you know what needs to happen.
There's all kinds of reviews.
Just get it done.
There's a snag review. There's
oh my God, SCONVA.
Two ombudsmans, a SCONVA review, the parliamentary review in 2013, the Auditor General
committee
report,
hearings,
there's probably a couple others there that we're not even thinking about. There's probably like 10 frickin' reviews. That's enough. And when our fight has been always about with the charter, with the lump sum over the pension, and then the first thing they come out with once they get into office is lump sum, and then kind of wriggling around the language, specific words used for describing the pension. It's upset a lot of people, or got a lot of people concerned, and we've been screwed around before, once bitten, twice shy, and it's a tough room working in the veteran community.
Yeah,
I don't envy the minister.
Hope for the best and prepare for the worst, and we're certainly hoping for a better answer. We're not stupid, so we're prepared for this to go this way. We're prepared for the long haul. None of us want that. I mean, you even go back to day one. I'm pretty sure if I asked any single person out there right now, hey, want to sue your government? Want to sue the government that you
served,
swore to protect? There's not a single guy that wants to do that.
First thing you're thinking about is like your RSM's gonna. What is he gonna think? That little son of a bitch.
Well, yeah, you wear it on your arm, literally. Yeah. A lot of guys, me included, have it tattooed on you somewhere. Don't show us. We don't care. Keep the tattoo pictures to yourselves. Yeah, that's a really hard thing to then turn around and work against in a court of law. But we didn't have too many choices. That said, we did mention Don. We are going to give him a buzz in a bit. And Aaron here, smart enough to put a poll up there. And he asked people ahead of time, what are the questions you want to ask Don? Now, we're not going to ask him everything, but we got the top 3.
We've got 10 questions, and if we get 3 of them, then that's great.
Yeah.
We want to have a dialogue with him. Maybe we get a couple questions off of here. Because we're looking at the phone here. That's why we're moving up to the thing, because we've seen people's questions.
The whiteboards.
And we have a whiteboard over here.
That way.
So
and
we're low tech.
So I'm doing
literally
this, but it's not a Twitch. It's
$5 production, if that.
Oh, it's even at an angle, so I got to go like this. You're all right. Okay, but I can read it from here, so we'll be okay. Perfect.
Dave Nearing got blocked. Well, that's no surprise.
We didn't block you.
You guys are aggressive. You're aggressive, and it's terrible. We just want everyone to get along. It's tough, though. It's pretty tough to play nice. We have to play nice. We're both part of the court case, and
you've got to remember,
a pro bono lawyer, we have to be nice.
There's things that
can't give them an excuse.
In a court case you have to do, whether or not the veteran community wanted to do them. They have to be done. For example, there's certain events that you just have to show up on. And when you show up on them, there's certain people that are allowed to speak and certain ones that have to be quiet. And generally, we're the ones that be quiet and we let the lawyers do the lawyer job.
Yeah, like 80% of the time.
In the abeyance agreement, both sides had stuff to do. And one of the things we had to do was actively participate and engage. Even if you don't think it's going somewhere, we had to do that.
Yeah, because we had to be able to testify down the road whether we were being treated properly, or if they're being honest about making efforts to sort out the problems.
And, we're fortunate in one way here is that, I remind the community of this often, we got a group of lawyers that have successfully worked cases like this before. They give us solid advice. We've got people on our committee that used to serve in Parliament in critical roles, not just, they won a by-election for a couple of months and happened to get there. People that had key roles like speakers of the House. Mm-hmm. And we get our political advice from them. So we don't turn to the internet for legal and political advice. We went to lawyers and politicians of stature for that. However, there are things we do need from the veteran community, though.
We need to know where the problems are, and we need to be able to see trends. I've done this on a small scale, just doing questionnaire among 700 wounded vets. It needs to be done on a national scale. I don't see any traditional vet or organization that has all kinds of money turning around and starting a census of all the veterans, but it's something that has to happen.
We're gonna.
There is not good data in any regard on how veterans are being taken care of, and we go on people's word from the ministry and the government, and we need to know for sure. Because there's just too many people complaining about not being treated well.
Linda, VACA's benefits, you have to jump through so many hoops. Okay, I'm gonna take one here. This one he actually taught me about, which you'll find interesting. So when I say dental coverage for vets, most people will go, oh yeah, you mean the dental coverage for your pension. You might not know there's actual dental coverage through VAC. Now, not everyone gets it. Fair, but you'll never get where it's hidden. And I say hidden for a reason. Some might say, oh, is it in the medical plan, or is it in something like that? No, it's in the VIP plan. And someone tried to tell me why dental care is hidden in the plan that gets someone to mow your lawn or shovel your snow, and how those, unless, well, you could shovel snow and then like lose grip of the shovel and knock your teeth out. Fair, I'm there. Or you're mowing the lawn, hit a rock, knock your teeth out.
They had to hide it somewhere. And you know, this was so well hidden that, what's his name there, Bruce Henwood? Bruce Henwood's been an advocate going back to the 90s. He's a
good dude, by the way.
Major, he lost his legs in a mine strike in Bosnia.
Yeah.
And this man's been an advocate, and he's been on several committees with the government over the last 15 years. And I told him about this. And not even he knew about it.
Yeah.
And he was on one of the last major committees with Veteran Affairs Canada, the SNAG committee. What does that stand for?
I don't know.
All these bloody acronyms, I don't know. But anyway, they're very good at hiding stuff.
So that's it, is benefits will be hid inside other benefits, and here's the reason for it, is we have a trail of things that you need to qualify to get to the end game. So if I said everyone gets $1,000, you don't, by the way, you get pretty much piss all. But if I said you're getting $1,000, but to get it, you needed to qualify for the PIA, and you needed to be on a voc rehab program, and you needed to see this doctor once every week, and next thing you know, nobody gets it, even though, surprise, everybody gets it. So that's,
as far as the announcement,
kind of what we're dealing with. And he said it right there. Be very, very wary when the next announcement comes up, because what happens is, well, guess what? They announce it in the budget and they go, here's this thing. I'll give you an example. The criteria that they're telling you are going to be used to enhance the PIA, which is now going to be called the Career Impact Allowance. Well, what are those criteria? Who's making them? It's not Minister Hare making them. It ain't the finance minister. No one asked us, right? We were at all the meetings that supposedly is where these things get discussed. It'll be some backroom decision to limit access to the benefit as opposed to aid access to the benefit. And we need to watch out for that. I got yeah, that's for sure. So I got a dude there, good old Terje. He's a buddy of mine from Norway.
Yeah, I'm a friend of that fella.
I gave him the first Mexican food he ever had in his life.
In Vegas?
In Vegas. I made him eat some chimichangas.
We should have him on the show sometime.
We should. And he's pretty...
He came down and met you guys at SHOT Show in Vegas in January with Christy B and the MFT guys and the military mines.
He did?
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this is this dude exemplifies trust. If you go with a guy you never met before for roadside chimichangas somewhere in the middle of the States, and you've never had one before, that's trust, brothers. That's trust.
What time is it now? Well, it's 4:28. I think it's a good time for us maybe to call Don, our lead lawyer here. Let's see if I can do this without screwing something up, because we're not technological titans by any means.
We suck at it, actually.
We're playing with our phones here. Look what we're doing, eh? Okay. Don. Okay, here we go. Don's a busy guy. Don's taking the government back to court this Friday. But we'll talk to him right now.
Hello.
Hey, Don, it's Brian and Aaron here.
Hi. Are you going to phone me on my office line? It'd be better, right?
Oh, you want us to phone on the office line?
Yeah, because this is bad quality. 604-643-1214.
You haven't got a pen? Hold on, Don.
643.
643.
Anyone, you guys follow that number?
And what was the other part? 1214.
1214.
Area code 604?
Yep.
Okay, we'll call you on that one, Don.
Like I said, we're not good at this.
Well, yeah, we have a whole production team
Shut
here.
up and phone him, God.
Okay.
Guy.
Well, we don't have a production team here. It's just me and you. It's
You're a production, all right.
It's Bob and Doug, basically. 1214.
Yep.
I gotta put him on speaker. All right.
Hello.
Hey, Don. Brian and Aaron here.
That's much better.
Is that loud enough? Let me just turn this all the way up.
So we got you here, and so it's just me and Aaron, but you are live on Facebook, and there's a bunch of people across the country that are listening. And we asked them a couple of days ago what would be the top questions that they wanted to ask you, because they don't normally get access to you, and when they ask it through us, sometimes we don't have the legal smarts in how to answer properly. So are you ready to take a question or two?
I have to put on my legal smarts hat. Just a minute, please.
Perfect.
Okay, it's on.
All right, I'll ask you the first one. In your opinion, Don, why has the government broken its promise and taken vets back to court?
I think that they are apprehensive about delivering on their timetable. During the election campaign, both the New Democrats and the Conservatives did not believe it would be possible to bring in a pension period. And the Liberals came out and said they would, and they said that it was fully costed. But my understanding is, from what I hear, is that it's more difficult than they thought it was, and they may not want to come out and admit that they can't do it as quickly as they thought they could.
Okay, so is it a little bit of promising more than they'd planned about, or is it also the fact that it was a juvenile government that had only had 30 MPs that had actually sat in the House before? Any of that matter?
I don't think it mattered so much how many MPs they had in the House. They did have experienced people advising them on veterans matters. They did say that they had costed it out and they could do it. But and this is just my opinion, guys. In my opinion, they didn't, in saying that, recognize all of the other competing demands that they would have for the public purse.
So the next one I want to ask you, and I'll be blunt, I've already talked to the vet community about this. I think this is one of the biggest things that we want to hear from a guy like you. And so here's the question. What can the veteran community do to assist the case?
All right, first I want to say what will not assist the case.
Good.
What will not assist the case is having your reputation sullied. And some of the comments that have been made about the minister are mean-spirited and vicious. And that won't help the case. It just makes us look like a bunch of Russian soccer hooligans. Everybody that's a veteran served his country and served it with. What will help to win the case is for each individual to contact personally their MP and tell them, no matter what party it is, that it's not satisfactory, that there be any doubt raised about whether there is a social covenant. That's what caused this thing to go off the rails in December of 2014. They went into the Court of Appeal and they argued there's no social covenant. And that goes back to sort of an insurance company mindset that was in place when they brought in the new Veterans Charter. It was treated as if it was any old benefit program for any old person that was in the civil service, not recognizing the special circumstances that veterans face when they can be ordered into life-threatening combat. So I think you've got to insist to your members of Parliament, no matter who they are, that they act in accordance with the resolution that said that Parliament unanimously recognized it and don't allow them to back down from it, because that's what they're doing now. Just half an hour ago, I got a document from the federal government saying that they were going to, that the current government adopted all of the arguments that were raised in the Court of Appeal in 2014, and that was one of the most objectionable ones to the veterans community.
So on that regard, obviously the community knows, and you know, and Aaron and I know, that we've been engaging with the government. Could you maybe talk for a second or two about, even though if things aren't going the way we want, why you think it's important that we keep at the table, keep engaging, keep talking?
Well, the lawsuit, many people think that the lawsuit would be a magic wand and that we could get a court to just put back in place the previous pension provisions. That isn't the way the court proceedings work. The best we could expect out of the court is that they would make a declaration that certain provisions didn't meet constitutional standards, etc. And then, much like they're doing now with the assisted dying legislation, they would give directions to the Parliament as to how to fix it. So you could end up, as they did in the SISF case, it was dragged on before they got rid of the Justice Department lawyers for something like 6 or 8 years. And then it only got solved when they brought in the president of UBC to help bring it to a head. It isn't in our best interest to have this thing go the full litigation route. It is always in our best interest to put forward all of the problems that the veterans community is facing and realistically assess the solutions that they offer. And that's why it is very important that we continue on with these, with putting our points of view across in these sessions. Now, I don't know, you guys know better now whether they're being treated seriously by the other side. My expectation is if people are from the veterans community are going to spend their time and resources to give input, that they would be taken seriously. I certainly didn't expect when we talked about these things being set up that it would just be a forum for the minister to come and lecture you as to what he was going to do.
Yeah, fair enough. And, well, there's kind of a question in your answer there, and I don't waste my time, and the folks around me don't. And so I wouldn't keep going back if I thought it was a waste of time. Now, we're not always getting the answer we're looking for, but in the end, some answers is better than none. And would you agree, because I know Aaron and I have talked about this, that in some ways we've already pushed the ball forward and made some advances in the veterans file that, quite frankly, wouldn't have been made without talking?
Well, it wouldn't have been made without talking, but it wouldn't have been made without the litigation either.
For sure.
We already before the end of the Conservative government had made changes, and I know that by virtue of our lawsuit pressure, the Minister of Veterans Affairs was able to go to the cabinet table and demand more funds be made available to veterans. So, in fact, the people we were suing were happy about it because it gave them an ability to go into cabinet and ask for more money. And Aaron O'Toole shown that they care about veterans. Aaron O'Toole is one of them. Frank Valeria from the Liberal Party was another. Peter Stouffer, it goes without saying, was another. They are all people from all political parties that put their desire to have the best things happen for veterans at the top of the agenda. And that this goes back to my saying about keep everything decent and respectful, because those people are going to continue fighting for us, and they need to be able to point with pride to the veterans community and say, here's what they're asking for.
Yeah, we have to look good. We have to keep things classy, and we can't fight amongst ourselves. We have to move forward.
Well, Aaron, I got to tell you, when I saw some of those cartoons the other day, taking a shot at the minister in a very mean-spirited way, but they also took a shot at Mark Campbell. Now, who the hell? Sorry about that, guys. Who has the right to take a shot at Mark Campbell?
Right.
Nobody.
I hear you on that. And one last one. Well, some more might come in over the internet, but this was number 3, so I want to ask it to you, Don. Don, why are lawyers contesting the sacred obligation that members of Parliament agreed to?
idea. I've heard some suggestions that there are fearmongers amongst the Department of Justice that if the social covenant is given effect to by the honor of the Crown, that it'll give rise to all sorts of other arguments about other things that will have to be enforced by the honor of the Crown. I don't buy that. The military situation is unique. It's unique because the whole concept of asking the statement enticing people into the military in the First World War was because Canada constitutionally was prohibited from having a standing army. So we had to raise a citizens' army, and it wasn't just Canada. It was Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all of the Commonwealths were in the same position. We had to raise a citizens' army to combat standing armies of 10, 8, 7 million. And in order to do that, we had to promise those who were ordered out of the trenches into a barrage of machine gun fire that they would be looked after if they're wounded, and that their families would be looked after if they're killed. Now, I don't know whether it's the lawyers that are behind this, or whether it's the finance guys that are behind this, or who's behind it. I just know that it doesn't make sense. Some people say it doesn't really matter whether people recognize the social covenant because it clearly exists. It has existed. So I don't know, and I certainly don't accept that the honor of the Crown only applies in Aboriginal cases. The honor of the Crown concept goes back to Norman times, before they even knew there were Aboriginals.
So, Don, if I could ask you for a second, so we're going to switch roles here. You take your lawyer hat off and just talk as a citizen, because when you first heard about what was happening to veterans, I understand it was just you becoming aware. What was your first gut reaction when you heard the kind of settlements that soldiers were being given for their injuries?
Well, you know that a couple of people were one was a neighbor's, I keep calling him a boy, but he was a man, obviously, but I saw him carried home as a baby. Yeah. That's Gavin Flett. And then Jim Scott's son was, there are people that I knew through my professional career. But was universality of service. That people were being dumped out of the military because they didn't meet universality of service requirements, and then they didn't have anywhere to go. The problem, guys, was it was obvious there was stuff wrong, but who can take this on? There's thousands of cases out there. It's an access to justice issue. We don't have a system whereby the legal advice is available to all the people that have any type of problem. So I was able to, as being the managing partner of the firm, approve myself to be able to take it on a pro bono basis. And it's a pretty unusual pro bono case because it's multi-yeared and involves a vigorous attack on the government. But I was concerned that this wasn't acceptable, that it wasn't right that people didn't have access to justice, and that this issue should be raised in the courts, and through the courts raise political awareness in the citizenry.
So one thing that's come up here, before I learned anything about law, as in, being subjected to this situation, I always had the problem with the justice system. You have access to justice. You can all get in. You can all get a lawyer. What's your opinion on access to justice? Is it fair, or if someone has a problem where they need a litigated solution, do they somehow need to find either someone like yourself who's willing to do it out of the goodness of their heart, or they need to be a millionaire or sell their house to fund a solution through a court?
Well, it's a sad statement, but there are very serious problems with access to justice, and this is one example. This lawsuit, if we were to report the time on it, has, I think one time I added up, it's over $1.5 million worth of lawyer's time on it. There are people that have access to justice problems with family disputes. There are people that have access to justice problems with criminal disputes. It's a serious issue. It's one that I've been personally dealing with all of my career, trying to find a way that we can give a voice to people that need to have somebody speak up for them. One of the solutions that we were aiming at as part of the settlement, if we'd gone forward, and I'm still trying to aim at this, is to have access to justice spread out so that the many, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of people that have phoned in with individual problems would at least have somebody that they could talk to about it. There are serving members that have gone through law school. They're all across Canada. Kelsey Thomson, or Kelsey Sheriff, she got married. That is working with me on the file, has been working with others to put together a stable of pro bono people that could sit down with people in their individual communities that have these issues. And sometimes it isn't always going to result in running off to court and starting a lawsuit. Sometimes it will be a matter of telling people how to make the right contacts or to follow through with assisting in communicating with the bureaucrats, that sort of thing. But there's no doubt about it, and the senior judges all across Canada agree. Access to justice is a very serious problem in our country.
So, Don, I guess my last question for you is, what aren't we asking you? In other words, is there something that you think the veterans community needs to know? You made a good point already about contacting your MP. Is there any other advice you can give the community out there that's not part of the Equitas case that you think they should know that would help?
Well, there's one thing that I have learned, that there is probably an unrealistic expectation about what can be achieved by litigation. And I just want to make clear that when I think that we have accomplished what we could accomplish by going through the courts, that's when we should settle. Now, that doesn't mean that you accomplish everything that you want, and there's no way in the world that every single problem is going to, or even a framework for solving every single problem is going to be solvable. But we have to, if we have to go and fight to get to that point where we can get to say, yes, we've established a fair framework for veterans, and hopefully it will continue on, and we will get to that perfection.
I got to say, man, I appreciate that. Is there anything else you wanted to ask, Aaron?
No.
Don, this is a great opportunity for us to say this in front of the vets community that's following us. Words can't describe, man, but thank you so much for everything you've done for us.
Yes, sir.
Well, there's one thing you can do is make your appreciation known by contacting your local Miller Thomson office. They got to know that I'm not just poking the government, that I'm doing something that is of use and is appreciated by people all across Canada.
So call your local Miller Thomson office if you have a Miller Thomson law office in your province.
Don't do that. I'll get blamed for the switchboard shutting down.
Write a letter.
Blame us.
Write a letter to the local managing partner. Yeah.
And as you're speaking, Don, all we're getting here is a scroll of people online saying thank you very much.
Hundreds of people.
So we'll sign off on that, Don. Thanks very much.
All right. God bless you all.
Yeah, take care, man. Thanks. All right, guys. That's Don.
Don doesn't go on Facebook. He has no clue. Like, we were trying to explain to him Facebook Live, and he was like, what the hell is this? It's like, this is a great way to give the veteran community an opportunity to connect with you en masse in a live setting, and to be able to come back and watch it later, to have a few questions answered.
And, you know, man, like, not too many things...
He's a great guy.
Yeah, not too many things get me all that emotional, but, you know, I've had people buy me a coffee before, the old handshake, thanks for your service. This dude has poured 4 years of his life into this.
Plus, he had to sway a whole bunch of senior partners at a major law firm to go for this, because they had, like, 150 different cases going on active with the federal government, and they were worried about upsetting them, and it was a big deal.
And these guys...
he made it happen. It was a really big deal.
he's met, obviously, the plaintiffs. He's met a couple other guys like me that are involved. But if they're successful in representing us and they're successful in this endeavor, they'll be helping people that they never met. They've been putting years of their life, and their company has been putting years of money and time and effort and resources into helping Canadians that they've never met. And I don't know what to say other than thanks. I mean, you like to say a little more, but I'm taken aback by people caring that much. So that was Don. That's the lead lawyer in the case.
Don's a really neat fellow. I wish, I'm hoping that if we are doing this trip in November across Canada, ideally we want Don with us the whole way. And we want everybody out there to, all the veterans and people that are interested or connected to the case through family, come out and thank this fellow. I want him to know and feel how much appreciation about what he's done, because it's a rare opportunity to have a case like this.
And don't be keyboard warriors, right? Don't be the guys that hit send on a nasty comment and think you actually solve something. That does dick. It doesn't solve anything. Do what he said. Take his advice. This is a guy that knows. He's fought constitutional cases before. He said, write a letter to your MP. Write it. Well, you can type it too. But then hit print and actually put it in the mail.
Physically, because if you email, they have staff that
goes
just
into the crap box.
99% goes right out of the...
Send an actual letter to your MP. And next, if you're so inclined, because there are Miller Thomson offices all across this country, send them a letter and thanking them on behalf of yourself and veterans for taking the time, because that needs to happen. It's one of these things you guys need to see. Online petitions don't do anything. And when they say a certain number gets in front of the government and then they have to respond, yeah, they can respond by saying thanks for the petition.
Oh, Turkey. Elkmo.
Terje.
He's going
okay,
to sleep.
Hold on. We're just going to hold this. Try and pronounce his name properly. Go.
Terje?
Do the rest of it.
Elkmo?
Terje Elkmo. That's what you're being called now? That's what I'm going to call you when I see you in Vegas next year.
What do you say?
Terje. It doesn't matter. That's his new name. Terje Elkmo. Good stuff. And
Sorry.
That's what we're working with.
I don't know.
That's how it is, right? Next time, show up with a name like Tom. You come up with a complicated name, you're Terje Elkmo.
He's always got neat pictures of going out hunting, and he's a pretty awesome fella.
Doing what the Elkmo family's known to
The
do.
Elkmos, they got sniper rifles with...
Precisely.
They're allowed to have suppressors on their hunting rifles.
That's Finland.
Cool.
He's Norwegian.
Oh, well...
Don't say same thing.
But maybe he went to Finland to go hunting.
Anyhow, we'll work on him in a bit. Write a letter. So where are we going now? I think we got this interesting piece of correspondence in front of us right here.
Oh, who's that?
Ever heard of this guy? Go.
Jody Middick. Does everyone know who Jody is? Of course you do. Jody just came back from Newfoundland. There was a convention there, the Royal Canadian. We're going to have him on the show next week to talk about how he felt that went, and he was over there as kind of an ambassador to young veterans, letting the old guard know the issues and the barriers that are preventing young veterans from joining the Royal Canadian Legion. So we're going to be able to talk to him at length next week. Yeah, anything? We're carrying the show today.
We're going to
2-3 beer and I'm all silly now.
So yeah, a couple things. So first of all, he sets a really good example. Obviously, he's written a book. That's not what I'm talking about. This guy had been morbidly wounded, lost limbs, and he's back working right now, and he's back working for the fine folks of Ottawa. That's right. Yeah. He's a city councillor in Ottawa. And so he's got a lot of unique perspective. And actually, his wife, who's also a veteran, very accomplished one, she's seen it from the other side. She's seen what it's like to be supporting the wounded. And as much as I know what it's like to be affected by conflict, I think it's important to realize that that is a family that is served, and it's a family that's got both aspects of not only what it's like to get hurt, but what it's like to recover to thrive through the injury, and then to be the support mechanism as part of that. So
Hopefully
that's
you
Alana
talk to both
Gilmore.
of them.
That's Jody Middick. He's got his book. You can find it. It's in the bookstores.
Canada and paperback now.
And so buy it. There we go.
Book. I got 2 copies of it.
He didn't even ask us to plug it, and he wouldn't do that. But
Jody
you should buy this.
Unflinching. I'm halfway through it. I've stopped reading it because I want to savor this, because it's like going through basic all over again. It was really neat, and like imagining going through sniper school, and it's a fucking great book.
Do you know what else helps with a great book?
Back.
Billy Bob's Beef Jerky. Billy Bob from Chilliwack. The garlic's in the blue, the red, right? Red and white here, Canadian colors. Go to about chapter 3, have a couple sticks. Well, I'm having a Cronenberg right now, but that's not what I'm recommending. I'm recommending this, right? All joking aside.
Do we want to field some questions?
Let's field questions in 4 seconds. Okay, questions.
4 seconds.
They're your sponsor. Brad, don't be like that. Hi, Brian. Send me some. No, Carol, you're not getting any. Well, you're not getting any of this, and maybe you're not getting any of something else, but you're not getting any of my jerky. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, you got 2 hardcover copies. Those are the kind you want. Hardcore.
Yeah, I got a hardcover one.
So, that's where we're at. Couple of things on the agenda here, and your agenda as well, because you're all writing your letter to your MP and your thank you letter to Miller Thomson. The Thomson doesn't have a P, by the way. It's Thomson. I got jacked up for that on the internet yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, you know how these
I think I've been
thought
calling
police
it with
are
a
like,
P forever.
oh, you're spelling there wrong or the wrong oh, shut up. But nonetheless, so hire 2 corporals by Thanksgiving. Veterans Affairs Canada, 2 corporals. Not colonels. You got thousands of them. Don't go get any more generals. Don't need any more. Even the Army doesn't need how many it has. You don't need any of theirs. Hire some corporals. Get some guys in there that have been broken. Get some guys in there that have seen what it's like. And hear what they have to say. I bet you'll be scared of it, though, because they'll start steering policy towards answering files with a yes. But prove me wrong. Hire 2 corporals. Our Norwegian vet. I don't know how to sum it up other than to say you've embarrassed me. That should have been a yes.
It's kind of like last summer with Kev Nansen. They were pushing about, there was a fumble on paying for a proper contractor to fix up his house to make it wheelchair accessible. What was it? The contractor made off with a lot of the money, and nobody would make a decision on it, and they sat on it. And we don't have a lot of amputees. It's not rocket science to take care of, a couple dozen amputees, and yet they couldn't do anything. Nobody would jump on it and make a decision.
The number one...
And same with this. There'll probably just, nothing's going to happen until, what were we saying earlier? An organization will come along.
And do it for them. But then they've abdicated responsibility and someone else done it. That's the thing is, get the job done, right? And that's what soldiers really get grinded about when they're dealing with that department is, we didn't have the option of turning back when we're given a job and like, oh, well, it was hard or took longer than I thought. Well, then stop eating and taking breaks and enjoying life and get it done. Well, that's how we worked. That's how we worked for you. And that's what we expect to see. Get it done. Find the policy that justifies it later. Change the policy if the policy doesn't justify it now. But get that man into the care facility he deserves, right? That's it. Don't be more complicated than that. If you come up with no, fire the person who said no. Go to a guy that says yes. Because that man served against the enemy with the Allies, case closed. Put him in a care facility.
Be nice if someone near him is in the veteran community is tracking this story so that we can get updates, because like last year, if it wasn't for the vet community staying engaged with Kev, we wouldn't have known the outcome if we were watching the media, because basically that story just vanished. We saw the outcome in the veteran community, but and it wasn't
okay.
great.
Scott Casey, pose your question again, because there's a lot scrolling and I couldn't see it. And I'm going to give him the standard 4 seconds. It better be a quick one. It would be nice, Bruce. That's not a question. Is it a nice Bruce? Like that would be nice, comma, Bruce? Or that's a nice Bruce? Working on fixing the CIB regulations to the policy committee. Okay, so here's a bit of the answer on that stuff, Scott. That stuff does come up at the stakeholder meeting. So in those conversations, yes, we do bring up these points. Okay, Scott, got the question. We'll get there in a sec. So, I'll tell you this, though. It doesn't come up in court. Court is about one case. We have an issue on hand, and we have to not muddy the water. We are using our lawyers to help advance a cause. In terms of advocacy work that we do in Ottawa, yes, I've already asked those questions. I've heard them asked by other advocates. In fact, I asked them at the parliamentary committee last year. The exact ones that we're finding out now are the problem. We predicted they were the problem. We asked the government before they enacted them, and they put them in the omnibus bill and enacted them anyway.
They didn't listen.
They didn't listen. But the questions keep getting asked. But it's an important point. We don't derail ourselves. We don't try and bring 20 issues into a court case, only one. So what Scott asked is essentially, say we get somewhere, where does this leave everybody? It's an important point. These 6 plaintiffs are 6 representative plaintiffs, so they represent everybody under the charter. They don't get anything that isn't going to be given to everybody else. There's not a dime.
Somebody yesterday says, is this all about, well, what the bottom line is the plaintiffs, what they're going to get on a settlement, and they'll flow to everybody else? We're not getting anything. The argument isn't about our individual circumstances per se.
There is no payout as a result of this case. What happens as a result of this case, is it's successful, is a policy change for all veterans, not for the 6 guys.
They tried taking that approach with us early on, and we pushed back.
Yeah, well, if there's too much hate here, you know what? If there is hate here, we're going to scroll through this later, and we're just going to start turfing people off here that are doing that. That's not it. Well, there might have been earlier. We'll have a look at it later. If people are just on here to snipe at each other, that's not our role.
Well, we can just bump you guys off of this, because we're trying to keep the conversation positive. You know, and on that point, just yesterday I had someone hitting me on different ways that this could roll out with the pension, and yeah, I'm not even going to go into it. It doesn't help us being involved with this to have people hitting us just with constant negativity and that, oh, well, that's never going to work out, and that's your input to helping us trying to help other veterans.
Have you ever thought of just calling him an asshole? That was a suggestion I got a week ago.
It kills me every time somebody does that. This has been really hard, and it's been 3-4 years of it, and I thought it was about to end, and now it's going to go on for... it could go on for another 4 or 5 years, possibly. So,
and you heard
hair's falling out about it. It's
you heard
stressful.
Don talk about the right to die case that's going on right now, and you could look at legalized prostitution or any of those things that have gone through the Supreme Court and then to Parliament. And he makes a very good point. Well, he's a lawyer. That's his job to make points. But nonetheless, what he's saying is you can go all the way through the court and get a win. But all a win does is punt back to Parliament for them to come up with their own law. And as you can see right now with Right to Die, the government's actively in the business of making up a law different than what the court told them to do. So driving things court, and not talking gets us to the court agreeing with us and then Parliament just doing whatever it wants. So we need to actively engage in a political process as much as it's like chewing on sandpaper the whole way.
Holding something in court for 4 or 5 years or a decade even allows them all this time to draw up different ideas of outcomes on the day that, okay, this is a case won or lost. Yep. If it's a loss, okay, we have a menu of different options here. And like in our case with the pension, they might have 5 versions of it. And depending on how tough we are with them between now and budget day 2017, if we're weak, guess what? We're going to get budget version number 5 instead of version number 1. We need all of the veteran community to unite behind this. And
because that's the thing is, you know, if if we were to operate the wrong way, then all the government does is punt it to the next one. And that's not what we want to see. So
What are you drinking in a blue ball? Oh, Kronenberg. It's Kronenberg, right?
it's Kronenberg 1664. It's delightful.
It's beer day at my place. This is the only day I have a beer is the day he comes visit, which before we started doing this was already a Tuesday, and we just decided, hey, well, we could make Tuesday the day we tried doing this thing. So it's beer day.
So
2-3 beer and I'm toasty.
when I signed off the first week, he gave me a little grief, like the ending's too abrupt. So
we were abrupt.
I'm starting to peter out a little bit now. I'm starting
to fade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So we should fade off into the fucking sunset, I guess he's saying. So any-
2-minute warning.
Any last things? Tell me someone's got something really cool to ask that isn't negative.
Bruce Kelly, I got this guy a couple weeks ago. He phoned me, or he sent me a message. He goes, send me your phone number. So I wrote 867-5309, right?
So he called it.
He did. And he's like, confirm the area code. Is it 250 or 604? And I asked him, well, did you phone? He's like, yeah, I phoned the 604. So 867-5309. You fell for it, big guy. Sorry, had to do it. Not the 4-second warning was for a question.
4-second warning?
Hey, Bruce, thumbs up for War Apps.
There's my mom, Debbie.
Hey, Deb.
Thank you.
All right, boys. Well, I'm
Scully's
starting to tap.
Swearing and
Ron, don't worry about missing the show, because you can just watch the whole thing later. It was amazing, by the way. I was amazing. He's here.
I'm a little bit off today. All right, so next week.
Last time you seen each other, we were actually very close to that situation, James. We were just in the tub.
Jesus Christ.
Not the bathtub.
Oh, hot tub. So next week, we're going to have Jody Minnick on the show. And we're going to recap on the trip to the Royal Canadian Legion National Convention. All right?
Same deal. We're going to ask him some questions, and you get to ask him too.
Yeah.
We're tapping out right about now.
All right.